couple times a week, I sit in this chair and I have a conversation with the elderly man across from me. And during those conversations, he'll tell me, you're just a casual. He even pulled well, I fought in the UFC card and you didn't. The question becomes, what is a casual? We like to use it as an insult, but it seemingly only happens in MMA. I've never heard somebody call a football fan a casual because they don't remember the Cowboys quarterback from 1971. So what is a casual? Why do people in MMA use it as an insult? And I'll open this with the very first question. I asked in another video. I'm going to ask it again here. If somebody doesn't know who you are, I met Josh at a car wash. And I said, Josh Thomson? Holy shit, you are older and smaller than I thought you would be. And then we had a full-blown conversation. But the question is, if somebody doesn't know who you are they a casual? And what the hell is a casual? And why is it an insult?
I think what people are considering a casual, just from my perspective, and when you said you sit in that chair across from an old person, I thought you were going to say, I sit in this chair every week and look at myself in the mirror and think, damn, how big I am, all of these things. I think when people look at casuals, I think what it is if you only watch the UFC, a lot of people just call you a casual. If you don't know what's going on in one championship, if you don't know what's going on in PFL or Bellator, because a lot of great fighters will come from those other organizations into the UFC, and some will even leave and go to them as well. And I mean, you've had Rory McDonald was in Bellator. You had other fighters that left the UFC and went over there. You had other fighters that left and had success going to like BKFC. I mean, look, Jeremy Stevens is back now in the UFC after having success in BKFC. So, Demetrius Johnson was traded, went over to one championship, had a great career over there. Just phenomenal. Like that I think is what people will say casual. There's other good fights and other good fighters in other organizations that could come into the UFC and make a big splash. And we've seen it when they bought Pride and when they bought Strikeforce, those fighters came over and made a splash. They had success. They became champions. Eddie Alvarez came over and became a champion from Bellator. Daniel Cormier, Luke Rockhold, Robbie Lawler, Tyron Woodley, all became champions. Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, all became champions in the UFC after the buyout from Strikeforce. Rampage Jackson became champion after the buyout from Pride. There's other fighters that are out there in the world that could be champions in the UFC. They're just in contracts in other organizations. I think that's when people start saying you're a casual. That to me is what a casual is. Someone who only watches the UFC, to me, is a casual. You watch all the other sports, if you try to, there's so many hoops to jump through. Like trying to watch one is fucking almost impossible. The time change, what network are they on now? Like it's a pain in the ass. But look, if you find one or two fighters over there you really enjoy watching, then Lineker is still over there. DJ just retired, but he was over there for the while. Like if there are other fighters, Timothy Nastyukin was a fighter that I enjoyed watching fights and had knockouts. I believe he was like 9-0 when I was calling those fights over there for one, had a couple losses, whatever, but very fun fighter. He's the guy that knocked out Eddie Alvarez when Eddie went over there the first time to fight. Just when
he fought for Bodog?
No, when he went over and fought for one. Timothy Nastyukin.
That part of his career. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I mean, but look, those days of Bodog and other organizations, you had to be a hardcore to find all those organizations and see. Verdict's not out yet on you. But we're making up ground. But overall, I think that to me is what describes, I think, just a casual. People that believe that if you're fighting in another organization, you're a B-level fighter. That's just not true. It's just not true.
Casual is funny because it feels very specific to MMA. I have never seen, listen, I don't know dick about other sports. Like famously, like all my friends make fun of me. MMA, so. I'm right, it's borderline. And like literally, like everybody knows, like they will make fun of me, like go sports. Cause 100% of my effort is here. I don't care about anything else. I'll root for certain teams just from where I grew up and where I live now. But I could not have an intellectual conversation about football, baseball, or any other sport. But I have never heard, nobody's ever called me, they call me all sorts of things. Nobody's ever said casual.
What is your wife?
Oh, he's a casual.
What does your wife call you?
Handsome, washboard, tall, thick hair.
Like marriages to stay together, you should never lie to your significant other. You should tell her that. We're going to have a strong, long-lasting relationship. You should not lie to me.
But casual is such an MMA specific term, and it's so funny to see it happen. First of all, it's always presented as an insult. Literally always. Why is it an insult?
Okay.
If I enjoy the sport and I watch it every now and then, how is that an insult? If anything, not being a casual by some of these definitions seemed like a basement dweller to me. If I'm able to live my life, watch some fights, have a good time, and that makes me a casual, that's insane. I don't get it.
You know what's funny is I think now people just throw it around to throw it around. Like, even if they know someone's not a casual, they'll just say it to say it.
You say it to me?
I mean, you know, you have casual takes sometimes on fights and on fighters and in the sport. For me, it hits differently. I think also too with Big John, it hits differently for us because when people start talking about the rules and they start talking about, you know, what the promotion should do. And I'm like, you obviously don't know what the promoter, like I just gave you that story about the Joe Silva situation. People don't know that, like, there's the top 15. There's 15 guys there and 9 of them are injured and 2 of them are on vacation with family. And so when they say, why don't you just match this guy up with that guy? If I could have done that, I probably could have done that, Joe Silva would say. But the guy's hurt. The guy's out. The guy had surgery. He's still recovering. You know, his mom died. Like, it could be something. It could be anything. But like, it's not as easy as people think. Well, why doesn't the promotion just do this? I mean, there's a lot of loops, a lot of hoops to jump through to get it there. And so it's not as easy as everyone believes. And so when they start spouting off things like that, I think that's from my point of view, I say that's when I know you're a casual. And it's not in terms of casual of knowing the sport and the fighters. You just don't know the business. That's the difference though, too. Like, I know the backside of the business in matchmaking. I know the backside of the business in promoting. I know the backside of the business now working with Big John in the refereeing area and talking with referees and having this conversation with referees. Like, the eye poke situations. I mean, that to me is like, you're really opening Pandora's box when you start saying, take a point every time someone gets poked in the eye. No, why don't we make changes to the glove? You know, and I know we just did that, but I'm saying, like, let's make real changes. Let's curve it a lot more. Let's, you know, whatever it is, like, let's make real changes to this thing and see. Maybe you send out things to the other fighters and say, hey, pick out of these 4 gloves, you know, and train with them nonstop for 6 months. Do a full on research panel amongst your fighters and which ones they enjoyed, and then take a tally and toll and say, this is the one that the fighters chose. Takes the relief off the promotion. Promotion's like, look, this is the one they chose. This is what we're going with. You know, and it's fighters that chose it, not us. We let the fighters choose what they wanted to wear, you know, for safety or for whatever, for eye pokes, whatever it is. And that's what we went with. So it takes the blame, I think, off the promotion. We went with the fighter glove. And I think when fans start to complain about those type situations, we on the backside, fighters, promoters, referees, judges, whatever it is, we're like, man, if these guys only knew everything that goes on to do one fight, one a big event, now we're having 42 or 44 a year. It's not easy. It's not. So when we get a shitty event or a main event where a guy gets poked, guys, we've done fucking 1,000 fights this year. Can we just dial it back? Can we stop complaining about the 2 or 3 that ended in eye pokes? Like, our odds are pretty damn good in terms of, like, the other 940 fights this year didn't end in eye pokes. Okay. Just because the main event did, it affected you and you're whining and crying. And I get it. I understand. Okay. But that to me is casual talk. We should change the sport right now because, you know, so many ended in eye poke. I get it. I understand. It's frustrating because you paid money for it, or it was the main event. It was the fight that really had an impact on the card because this is what I tuned in for. That's casual talk. You want to change the whole sport because you were mad about the one. You didn't care about the guy who got poked in the eye in the prelims, but you do now because it's the co-main event and that's the one you actually tuned in for. That's the problem.
So if I make this more specifically about you, you love talking about yourself. So if it's about you, so I imagine you meet a lot of random people, right? Through life, kids, all of that. You have obviously knotted up ears. So even if you don't follow the sport, it doesn't take a genius to figure out, like, oh, okay, he did something. How often are people like, hey, what's up with that? Or did you fight? And then if somebody's like, did you fight? Like, what's up with your ears? And you're like, oh yeah, whatever. And they don't know who you are, but they're like, I'm a huge UFC fan. Is that person a casual?
No, not at all. Look, there's guys that are getting into the sport later on, you know, And let's be honest, a lot of them are just tuning in now, like almost like boxing. They tune in for the main card and that's it. No one's sitting around watching pay-per-view or prelim fights like us. We're fucking nerds. That's what we do. We have podcasts about it. We talk about it. We talk about, like I said, the guy that got poked in the eye in the first opening fight on the prelims. I mean, those guys, people that are, oh yeah, I'm a huge UFC fan. Okay, cool. Like, what'd you do? I mean, and also too, it depends on where you're at. I've noticed, like, you go to, like, this is why the Seattle show did so well. A lot of people don't realize how much talent in the early days came from the Northwest. I mean, I went to high school in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and that's in the Northwest. And Misha Tate is from that Washington area. Dennis Holman from the Washington, Benji Raddick from the Washington area. Like, DJ from the Washington, Seattle area. Like, tons of fight. Randy Couture, Matt Lindland, Evan Tanner, all from the Oregon area. Chael Sonnen, like all these guys are all from the Northwest. There's a huge Northwest base out there that really enjoys fighting. That's why they did so well last week, in this promotion. So I think if you can, I think that we'll say that they're casual, but they're not casual. They're just people that are up there that don't get as much action, I think, to watch the fights.
Sure, I think some of it's generational too. Like we mentioned in a different video, the big booms. There was the post-Ultimate Fighter Season 1 boom, the post-COVID boom. And depending when you came in, obviously your knowledge of the sport may or may not be different. If you came in during the COVID era, even if you watch every single event, of course, you didn't see the early events that sort of made the sport what it is.
Like I was working a show for Bellator in Seattle. I was in Tacoma, right outside of Tacoma. It was at the small casino. And the arena only held, I think, like 1,800 people. Sold out. Obviously, hopefully, it did.
Yeah, but people, you better sell that out.
Yeah, but it literally, like, I had like everybody that walked by. There was tons of people going, Josh, man, I remember watching you fight in Portland. I remember watching you fight in Coeur d'Alene, in Spokane. I'm like, holy shit, that was fucking like 20 years ago. That was how long ago it was. And people are like, man, I've been a fan. Like, that's an area that I kind of came up in. Like most of my early fights, like my first 14 or 15 fights. We're in that Washington, Oregon, Montana, Utah area, and we would just drive from location to location and fight. And we didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't, it was like people would call the gym like, hey, I've got an event.
We didn't have TVs or microwaves either.
Pay you guys $300 if you fight. When you fight, we pay you the $300. That's how it went back then. Like, you just call a gym, like, you got any MMA guys there, and how many do you have? Can you guys all come? We're going to match weight once you guys get here. You step on the scale, you fought the guy that was closest to your weight. I remember fighting a guy in Spokane who fought Trevor Prangley. Trevor Prangley was a 185 pounder. Trevor fought him 2 months before that. Trevor beat him and handled him. And I was like, well, Trevor and I are training partners, and I give Trevor some good goes on the ground and this and that. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. The guy weighed 205 pounds. I weighed in at 168. I took the fight and beat him. It was like, I'll just take my chances. Like, but I needed the money. Like, I was young, I was dumb, I needed the money. You'd be surprised what you would do for that. And I was in that situation. I needed the $300. The casual term, I think, for most, from my point of view, from Big John's point of view, probably, and is when people that are at home watching fights like yourself on the couch, eating chips, stuff in their face, and just basically saying, oh man, I would have landed the head kick. I've heard you talk in your vlogs. I've heard you talk about, oh man, I would have knocked him out. That guy.
100%.
So, yeah.
Also, you and I, completely off topic, at your birthday thing, you were running your mouth about some shit that you could take me down, no problem.
Oh, easy work.
Of course you cannot take me down. There's just you're not going to be able to take me down. I don't believe it. You're not going to be able to do it. We set a date. We were supposed to get after it at like 5:30 in the morning, 2 days later. One of us no-showed.
Yeah, I was still drinking for my birthday party.
you tell me, because
easy work.
I still very strongly believe you would not be able to take me down.
Oh, it'd be the easiest thing ever.
I don't.
Okay, I have a question though. Are we talking open mat wrestling? Or are we talking like in a room where there's walls? What are we talking?
Open mat wrestling.
Okay, so no walls then.
Do you think the wall makes it easier for you or me?
Makes it easier.
For me?
Absolutely. No, not
for
even.
you. Oh, okay. I was going to say, because,
it makes it way easier for me.
Yeah, no, open mat. No, it was a wrestling takedown.
Even open mat. Even open mat. I mean, yeah.
No shot.
Yeah.
No shit. That's a casual take. Thinking, "Dude, I'm way bigger, probably faster at this point in our lives, younger,
What are you talking about?
stronger. I think.
I just ran 6.5 miles yesterday at a pretty good pace, 7.5 minutes a mile.
With children.
Yeah, my son is very fast, by the way. Super fast. This dude, I mean, he smoked me. Like, he was out the gate and he took off. I was like, you know, when kids take off really fast, like on a run, you know, and you think like, okay, well, after the first lap, they'll start slowing down or 3/4 of the way through. No, he kept his pace. He held up a gun, you know, because we had this thing. If you didn't beat 8-minute mile, he's in 4th grade. I said, if you don't beat an 8-minute mile, man, like I was running 7:20s, you know, 7-minute miles in 4th grade. So he's like, I said, you got to beat 8 minutes. So he ran it in 7:23. So he was booking.
That is solid. Yeah.
I was about 15 seconds behind. I was 7:38, I think is what it was. Something like that. But it was a cool little thing. But anyways, yeah, no, there's no doubt. Like, bro, as soon as I lift your leg above your waist, you're falling over.
You're
just
not
like
getting to it. That's the thing. You're not getting to it.
I don't think you realize. Yeah, I am. You're bigger, and that means a lot easier for me to get in on the leg.
And faster and know how to wrestle. This isn't just some random like, oh, I could do that.
No, you don't know how to wrestle.
What?
You don't know how to wrestle.
Okay. I guess we'll find out, won't we? We'll do it live. That'll be a live bad take.
Okay. Are we adding strike to it too?
What?
Are we adding strike?
No, it's not a fist fight. No, I'll lose a fist fight. I will win a wrestling match.
Okay, no kicks?
I mean, if you want that, I could kick you from 4.5 feet out. What are you going to do with the Oompa Loompa legs?
I love you. I love you.
See, this could be a casual take.
No, it is, but I love it. It is.
Let us know in the comments if you use the term the casual, how you use the term casual, and why it is only an insult in MMA and not used in any other sport. I am curious with everybody's take.
I think in sports, right? It's a team sport. Those are mainly called bandwagon, like jumpers or whatever it is. Like
bandwagon fans,
they jump on the bandwagon, right? Like in boxing and in MMA, we don't really hear that term too much. Oh, you jumped on the bandwagon? No, not really. You know, people kind of stay with their fighter and who they think, and you know, and they start to follow them as they start to get a little bit of a name, and you jump on then. Like people just jump teams, and so it's more of a bandwagon jumper. I think that's their version of a casual. Someone who just kind of rides the train. Oh, what the Dallas Cowboys, when they were winning all their Super Bowls, now they're fucking Niners fans, you know, like the arch enemy. And now they're Niners fans. And, you know, some of them end up being, you know, Chiefs fans right after that because Lamar Hunt, his family is from Dallas area. So a lot of them end up being 2-team. Like we're Chiefs fans, you know, but like they were actually Dallas fans when it was Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Irving. Now they're Chiefs fans because it's Mahomes from Texas Tech. They're going to jump on that bandwagon too. So, you know, there's bandwagon jumpers. That's their version of a casual, I think, for sports, for team sports.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense because it doesn't make sense that MMA is the only sport that has like that. Oh, you don't know everything ever? Casual. So let us know below if you use it, how you use it, and if you think, I mean, Josh could be a casual, frankly. But if you think I'm a casual, let me know in the comments. I am very curious.
Just spit up my food.